Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing about sequence unpacking in Python, which is a very important topic in Python. So this sequence unpacking will be very useful while handling different kinds of data. When we are handling some complex data structures like lists, tuples, and strings, when they are in a very complex form, we may want to break them down and use it for different purpose. So for that, we need the unpacking concept in Python. So let us see what we can do with that. Now, this unpacking can be used for different data types, but today I'll be discussing about sequence unpacking. That means I'll be showing how to unpack sequence data types in Python. So let us see one by one what we can do with the sequence data types. So as we all know, we have three sequence data types like lists, tuples, and strings. So let us see them one by one. So first, let me take a list. Let's say nums is a list of numbers 1, 2, 3. Or else, let's say I have only two values. Here, I can do is I can use a syntax like this, a, b, which is equal to nums. Right? So what I'm doing here is I'm assigning the nums, the value of the nums list to two variables. Normally what I do is I do something like this, x equal to nums. The meaning of this is I'm assigning the value of nums to x. But when I'm doing a comma b is equal to nums, here I'm trying to assign the nums value into two variables. But what will happen when I do this? So in this a comma b is known as the unpacking sequence, unpacking syntax. Here what I'm doing is I'm unpacking the values present inside the nums list and assigning them to two variables. Now let us see what is there in a and b. So first I print a and then I print the b. So let us now check what I can get. So when I print this, I get in a I get 1, in b I get 2. So this way I am able to break down the nums list and use the individual values separately. Right? Now here there is a small rule that we need to follow all the time whenever we are unpacking any sequence data type. So here we have to note that the number of variables I am using here, the number of variables must be equal to the number of elements in the list. So now this list is having two elements. That means the number of variables should also be equal to the number of elements. So I'm using two variables here because there are two elements in the list. So when I'm using this number of variables equal to the number of elements in the list, I get no error. So everything is going fine. But let's say what will happen when I have more variables a comma b comma c is equal to nums. Now what is happening here? The number of variables is more and the number of elements in the list is less. So I'm trying to unpack the value and put them into more variables. So what will happen when I do this? I get an error. I get a value error saying that not enough values to unpack. So there are not enough values. For these three variables, I need three values. So I must have 1, 2, 3. And if I now try to unpack, I get no errors. And A will have 1, B will have 2, C will have 3. In the same way, even this thing will give us an error. As I told you, the number of variables must be equal to the number of elements in the list. So here, the number of variables is 2 and the number of elements is more. In the previous case, number of variables were more. In that case, I got a value error saying that not enough values to unpack. Now let us see what kind of error we will get. So when I run this code, I get again a value error, but it is saying too many values to unpack. So there are too many values in the list and we are assigning the values to only two variables. So which is again not possible. It is saying too many values to unpack, expected two. So, but this A and B were expecting only two values, but they got three values. So this way, the unpacking is not possible. So we will learn about this thing, how to unpack in this situation sometime later. Okay. So let us now see more things in this basic thing. Then we'll go on to advanced things. Now, now the next thing that I want to discuss about is this is not the only way to unpack values from a list. So now please know that we are now discussing about lists. After I complete everything about lists, I will move on to tuples and strings as well. Okay, fine. Now, now let me show you another way to unpacking values from a list. So for that, we have a special unpacking operator in Python. That is the star operator, star or asterisk, which we use for multiplication. I hope you all know this star operator or the asterisk operator, which we use for multiplication. But when I use it for unpacking, it will be having a different meaning. So let me take nums list again, where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say I have 5 values. And I'll try to print something like star of nums. When I use the star in this way, the meaning is not multiplication. It is not the multiplication operator. Instead, what I am doing is I'm trying to break down or unpack the nums list. And when I write it in this way, the star nums means each value of the list. Okay. Now star nums means each value of the list. Star nums doesn't mean the whole list. Nums means the whole list. Nums mean the whole list. But when I have a star, it means the individual values of the list. Well, let us now see. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separately. This is not coming as a list. If I print only nums, I get something like this. I will get everything enclosed in square brackets. But when I put a star, it is not giving me a list in the output. What am I getting is I am getting 5 individual values. Okay, fine. But how do I use it? Because the star nums, I cannot use it. It contains 5 values separately. I cannot use the star nums value directly. But there will be some use cases of this. So let me say, when I want to create a copy of a list, I can use this star operator. So let me show you. I take a variable. Nums is containing the big list. I take a variable. I take a variable a equal to star nums. When I write like this, what happens is I am separating all the values from the list and putting them in between square brackets. So what will happen? So in this, when I do like this, what will happen is they will be formed or they will be forced to be contained inside square brackets, which means we are converting it into a list. Earlier, when I was writing only star nums, they were separate values. But when I put the separate values inside a square pair of square brackets, it will become a list. So now if I print A, I can see that A will give me a list, not individual values. Let us see. So I got here a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within square brackets, which denotes that it is a list. This way we can create a copy. Then some more ways, let us see what more we can do. We can do something like this as well. Let's say square bracket star A is equal to nums. This is also having the exact same meaning. So what I'm doing is I'm assigning the nums to A. So what is happening? This is actually having two steps. So let me write the two steps. First step is I'm putting A is equal to nums. And then what I'm doing is I'm separating the values of A and putting them in another variable. So I'm doing something like this. So ultimately what am I getting is I'm getting all the values of the nums list separated and put inside another square bracket. So if I try to print this, so here what I will get is, so if I try to print A, what I get here is get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a list because I have put the square bracket. So this way also I can do it. So this is also having the same meaning. Okay. Now let me show you another thing. that is a common thing. So till now, whatever I have done is specific to lists only. But I have another way where I write something like this. This will have a little different meaning. Let me show you. Star A, comma, and I don't write anything after the comma. So that means it is a trailing comma. It is a trailing comma is equal to nums. When I write like this, what will happen is Python encounters a whenever Python encounters a trailing comma, it behaves like that as if it is a list or a tuple. So we are working with list here. So it will be considered as a list. If I am working with tuples, it may be considered as a tuple. But that is different. But in this case, what is happening is this comma, trailing comma tells us that we are creating a list here. Okay. This is also a simple way to do it. Okay. Now let us see what will happen here. So if I print A, what do I get is, again, I get a list of all the numbers. So this, even in this way, we can create a copy of the list. But we have seen three different ways how to use the star operator, that is the unpacking operator. It is known as unpacking operator. Unpacking operator for lists. And we can do it in different ways. Whatever be the situation, you can use it. Okay, fine. Then let us see some more things. Now here what is happening is, here I am assigning all the values to A. But we can do something known as multiple assignment and assign the values to different variables. I can store one in different variable, two in different variable, three in different variable as well. So let us see, because we have already seen that something like this, a comma b is equal to nums, where what I am doing is I am putting uh, one value in one of them. But as I told you, in this case, when I'm doing this kind of unpacking without the star operator, what I need to do is I need to maintain one thing, that the number of variables must be equal to the number of elements in the list. But let's say I don't know how many elements are there in the list, then I cannot use this unpacking approach. I need the star approach. But again, whatever we have seen with the star approach is that we are using only one variable, which is holding the individual values. Now let us see how do we combine these both things and store the values in different variables, but without knowing the number of elements. So as I told you in the beginning, I will discuss it later. So this is the time where I want to discuss it. So here first we need to know a concept called multiple assignment. What is multiple assignment? This is a very basic thing. A comma B is equal to 3 comma 9. What is the meaning? I'm assigning 3 to A and a 9 to B. That means actually I am performing two operations. A equal to 3 and B is equal to 9. So instead of writing two lines, I am doing the two operations in one line. So that's why it is known as multiple assignment. We are doing two assignments in one line. So this approach is known as multiple assignment. This multiple assignment will help us to achieve what we need in this list unpacking. So let us see what we can do. So nums is there. I write something like star A comma B. So when I write like this, it is taking it as a list. As I told you, the comma will tell Python that it is a list. Now I write here nums, star A comma B and nums. And let us now try to print the A and B, because as we saw in the beginning, if I don't have the A, if I don't have the star, we will get an error, because the number of variables is not equal to the number of elements in the list. But the moment I use a star here, the whole meaning becomes different. So let us print A and print, print B. Here, this A, whatever variables are having this star operator, is known as a mandatory variable, and this is a non-mandatory variable. Now what will happen here is, the mandatory variable it is like it must hold a value, at least minimum of one value. It is not like it will only hold a single value. As we have seen, whenever we are using the star operator, when I am writing like this, When I'm writing like this, it is holding all the individual values, right? But when I'm writing like this, what will happen is star A will hold, it can hold a lot of values, but this B is not having a star. It cannot hold more than one value. That means here what will happen is B can hold only one value, star A can hold more than one value. So what will happen here? What is B? B will hold the last element of the list, and star A will hold the remaining elements of the list as a list, but B will not be a list. So let us now see the output and observe it. So what I got here, print A, when I'm doing print A, I'm getting a list in the output which contains 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whereas B is a single value, it is not a list. It is the last value of the list. This is how the multiple assignment combined with unpacking works with lists. Now let us see some more examples, some more examples using by interchanging these values. So let me write something like A comma star B. So what will happen here when I write A comma star B? Now here B is the mandatory variable and A is a non-mandatory variable. So star B, so A cannot hold more than one value. So that means A will store the first value and star B will hold the remaining elements of the list. So let us see the output. I got here A is having 1 and star B is having 2, 3, 4, 5 as a list, not individual values. They are having multiple values as a list. Okay. Next, let me have some more possibilities here. Let's say A comma star B comma C. What will happen here? Now, A will hold the first value, C will hold the last value, because they cannot, A and C cannot store more than or cannot hold more than one value at a time. But star B can hold more than one value at a time. So star B will hold 2, 3, and 4 as a list, and A will have 1, C will have 5. So let us see A, B, and C. When I save this and run the code, I get A is having 1, B is having 2, 3, 4 as a list, and 5 is having, C is having 5 as a single value, right? This way we can keep on doing. So let me do A comma B comma C comma D. So what will happen here? A will have 1, B will have 2 and 3, C will have 4, D will have 5, because A, C, and D cannot hold more than one value. So let us see. I got A as 1, B as 2, 3 as list, C as 4, and D as 5. This is how the unpacking can be done with lists. Now let us move on to the next data type. That is, we can go with tuples. Tuples will behave in a similar way. Now, as we, I hope you are all familiar with tuples. So how does tuples will work? Is defined. First, we can do what we can do is we can define a tuple like this: 1, 2, 3. This is also a valid tuple, and also I can write something like 5, 6, 7. This is also a valid tuple. So it is not mandatory to put the parentheses in the values. Okay. So it is my wish whether I want to put the parentheses or not. Okay, fine. Next we'll try the all the same things whatever we did with lists, and we'll observe what is happening here. So first I will go with A comma B. So I will take 1, 2. A comma B is equal to nums. So what will happen here? And if I try to print A and B, print A, print B. So what I should get? The tuple should be unpacked and it should hold 1 in A and 2 in B. And the same way, if I put more variables here, I should get a value error saying not enough values to unpack. In the same way, if I have more values here, I should again get another error, too many values to unpack. Fine. These are all same, just like lists. Next, that's why it is a general concept. It is a general concept for sequence. It is known as sequence unpacking. Okay. Next we will try the star operator. So what do? I have this 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and I will print star of nums. So let us see what do I get. So here I got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 separately. They are all separate values. It is not a list or anything. Okay, fine. But if I put here comma, will it work? Let us see. Yes, still it will work. Okay, fine. Because as I told you, the trailing comma denotes a list or a tuple. So here it is just taking it as tuple and separating the values. So that's why we are getting it. Okay, next. So what this thing we can do with this thing, we can create a copy. So let's say numbers is equal to here. Actually we cannot do something like this star nums. If I do like this, what will happen? Unpack operation is not allowed in this context. That means I must put it in square brackets like this. What will happen? I'm converting this tuple in a list. I'm separating the tuple values and putting them inside square brackets. So what I get? I get, sorry, I need to print the numbers, print numbers, and I can convert the tuple into a list. But in the same way, if I put parentheses here, this will not work. Okay, this will not work. This is not supported. So I have I have that the only option I have is I have to go with this way. Okay, and if I just don't use anything, again it is not supported. So what we can do using this star operator here is we can convert a tuple into a list if we want, because this may be needed in many cases, right? Okay, next. What are the different ways to convert a tuple into a list? Again, we'll go with the other things. Like we did something like this, star nums, or let's say not star nums. Let us take a variable star a is equal to nums, and I print the a. So when I print a, what do I get? I get a list of all the numbers. Similarly, the third way, what did I see? The third way was the trailing comma. So when I write a trailing comma, what does it take? It will take it as a list. And in the same way, if I now try to print it, I again get the list, right? So these are the different ways how I can convert it. So here we are not creating a copy of a tuple. Here, using all these approaches, we are converting a tuple into a list, and we have seen 3 different ways. Fine. Now we will see the multiple assignment, what happens there. So star a comma b is equal to nums. So what will happen? B can hold only one value, whereas star a is the mandatory variable which can hold more than one value if needed. So let me print a and b. A and b. So what do I get here? So in A, I'm getting 1, 2, 4, and 5 as a list. And in B, I'm getting the 6, which is the last value. In the same way, if I do A comma star B, I should get 1 in A and 2, 4, 5, 6 as list in B. So that's what we are getting. 1, which is a non-mandatory variable, which can hold only one value. So it is storing 1, and 2, 4, 5, 6 as a list is stored in B. Fine. And then third and last way, when I'm doing something like this, what will happen? A will hold the first value, C will hold the last value, star B will hold the remaining, the middle values. So that means 2, 4, and 5 as a list. So if I run this, I get this. Fine. And we can have more values as well, like this A, B, C, D. So C will have 5, D will have 6, A will have 1, and B will have 2 and 4 as a list. So let us check it. Yes, we got that. 2 and 4. So what happened here? A, I didn't print the D. Okay. So I'll get the 6 as well now. Okay. So this way I can get all the values. Fine. Now let us go to the third sequence data type, which are strings. So let us see what happens with strings. So let me have greeting is equal to hello. So we have a string here. Now let us see what we can do with this string. So we will just like lists and tuples, we'll try all the things and we'll see what things are possible and what things are not. So let us try with the first one. When I wrote a comma b, or let me take a smaller string hi, a comma b is equal to greeting. So what will happen here? Here I am trying to unpack the greeting string into a and b. So print a and print b. Now let us see. I'm getting H and I, each letter or each character of the string separately in A and B. Fine. So I hope this is understandable. Now, if I put more values again, I should get an error because there are two characters and I'm trying to unpack it into three characters. So again, I'm getting not enough values to pack. So if I write here a hill, what will happen? Again, I should get an error like this, too many values to unpack. So it should match, the number of variables should match the number of characters in the string, right? Next we will try with the star operator on the unpacking operator. So let us see what we will do here. I will print star of greeting and let me take hello here. Okay, now let us see. Okay, not this way. We need to put a star. Yeah. So now let us see what I should get. I'm getting HELLO separately. All the characters of the string, I'm getting it separately. Now let us see what we can do. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to convert this string into a list, just like what we did for tuples. So we'll write something like A is equal to star of greeting. So what will happen? It will separate all the characters of the string and put them in a list. So if I print A, what do I get? I get HELLO, each single character as an element of a list. We're getting a list of 5 characters. If the string is having 100 characters, we will get an array of length. We will get a list of length 100. So this is how we are getting. We are able to unpack the characters and convert it into a list. Next, what is the next way? The next way, what we did earlier was we did something like this: star A and is equal to greeting. We're taking the greeting string and assigning the greeting string to A, and then we are unpacking the A and then putting them inside a pair of square brackets. So ultimately the same thing, whatever we were doing till now, it should happen. So this is how we are able to do it in the second way. Now let us try the third way, where we were doing something like this: star A comma. When I put a comma, again it will be considered as a list and it will store all the values in a list, all the characters in a list. Fine. So you should always remember that the trailing comma is indicating that it is a list. Okay, fine. Next, what we want to see is the multiple assignment. What will happen with multiple assignment here? So star A comma B is equal to greeting, and print A and print B. So B will hold only the last character, that is the O, right? And A should hold HELL. So it is storing HELL as a list in A, and B is holding only the last character of the string, which is O. Correct? Next, if we interchange the operator, if I go to B, I'll get A will hold H and B will hold EO. Right? It is quite similar what we have seen with lists and tuples. And the last one, what I want to show you is ABC, where I will have H in A, O in C, and ELL in B. So if I run this, I get something. Okay, print A, B, and C. I forgot to print the C. So I'll get O in C. So same thing, I can do with more values as well, whatever we have seen earlier. So this way, what should happen? Age should be there in A. C should hold L. D should hold O. EL should be present in B. Right? Save this and run the file. So I got age EL as a list in B. C will hold L. D will hold O. So this is how the unpacking in strings happen. Right? Okay. So here A and C and D are non-mandatory variables. So and they can store only one value at a time. That's why we are getting it like this. So I hope you understood the concept of sequence unpacking in Python. How we can unpack different sequence data types like lists, tuples, and strings using multiple assignment, or else maybe by using only the star operator on the unpacking operator. That's it for the session. See you in the more with in the next session.